Hello again, my fellow Jeti users, and welcome back to Harry's Workshop for another of my little Jeti Clinic videos. And in this one, we are going to do something quite radical. We are going to change the text in one of the configuration files inside your transmitter. Why? Well, the way that the Jeti countdown timers talk to you, and the way that it vibrates the stick, if you've got one of the transmitters that has vibration on the sticks like this 24 does, is all determined by the text that's written inside one of the configuration files in the transmitter. It's not displayed in any of the transmitter menus for you to alter. So what do I mean? Well, if you have the countdown timer running, it will tell you at 5 minutes, 4 minutes, blah, blah, 1 minute. Then it'll tell you at 50 seconds, 40 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then it beeps. And if you've got stick vibration, as I have on this 24, it'll vibrate the right-hand stick twice. I don't want it to do this. I'm happy for it to tell me at each minute. And then I'm happy for when it gets to 1 minute, just tell me at 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 3, 2, 1. Do the beep, and I want it to vibrate the left-hand stick, not the right-hand stick. So how do you change the countdown speech to tell you what you want, and how do you change the stick vibration from the right-hand stick to the left-hand stick when none of this is in the menus? I'll give you a quick sample of what I mean. I'll start this countdown timer. It's set to just 10 seconds. So it doesn't tell you the 10 because it's already there. But instead of counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is how your transmitter comes set up, it will just count down 3, 2, 1. It then gives a double high-pitched beep, not the single beep that I think is the default as it comes from Jeti, because I've set it to do those. And it will vibrate the right-hand stick, which I don't want. We're going to go and change it to the left-hand stick. So here we go. Countdown timer going.
Three, two, one.
Okay, right. So how do we go about modifying the countdown timer and moving that vibration from the right-hand stick to the left-hand stick? Well, we're going to be modifying, as I said, the configuration files inside the transmitter. And you're thinking, whoa, Harry, what on earth are you doing in there? That's going to screw up your transmitter, and Jeti is not going to be happy. Well, I can tell you that Jeti is not at all unhappy about you doing this. In fact, Jeti even tells you what to do. If we go to Jeti's website, we go to, where's my little mouse? Technical support, down to transmitters, DC16 and DS16, because Jeti has not updated the website properly for years, and a lot of this was written back in the days when they only had that. Go into there, and now scroll down to this one here, format of timers sound notification. Go into that, and it tells you all about it in here. It says announcements are set in the timer detail by the parameter report type. It's possible to choose from 3 system profiles, beep 1, beep 2, and voice. And to each of these, there's a configuration file on the SD card in your transmitter in the configuration directory. They are timer B1, timer B2, and timer V. So that's timer beep 1, timer beep 2, and timer voice files, obviously. There, it is possible to set the desired audio files to be played in precise time intervals, alternatively acoustic warning by beeps is possible. These files contain information in a standard format, which takes the following meaning. You can set a time. That's a time when the specified sound file will be played. A type of notification. 1 means it'll be a beep, and 2 means that an audio file from the SD card will be played. Frequency is the default frequency of beeps, and that means, higher or lower tone. CNT for count, the number of beeps. Obviously, I've set mine to 2. I think it defaults to 1. Length, the length of the beep in milliseconds. So 1000 milliseconds would be 1 second beep. I think I've set mine up to 1500. So I've reset mine instead of 1 second beep. I've got 2 1.5 second beeps. And then finally, file, the WAV file that is played at the specified moment. For example, and then it gives you examples of what a line would look like. So at time 60, that's 60 seconds. Type 2, that's a voice file rather than a beep. Remember, type 1 would be a beep. Play the file 1minute.wav. And example, short beep ahead of the specified time, blah, blah, blah. So it then goes on to give you example of completed configuration file, the timer v.jsn that's in your transmitter. And you can see how at time minus 300, so this is a countdown timer, so at minus 300 seconds, which is what, 5 minutes, yep, it will play a voice file, because it's type 2, and it'll look for the file 5minute.wav and play it, and so on and go down. So here's where it defines the fact that after 1 minute it plays at 50 seconds, 40 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then at time 0, type 1, that's a beep. Frequency 5000. I don't know if that means in hertz, but it might well be. CNT1, count 1, so 1 beep, length 1000 milliseconds, in other words 1 second. So at time 0, make a beep of frequency 5000, 1 beep for 1 second. Okay, now obviously, because Jeti hasn't updated this for years, there is one more parameter added on to the end here, and that's VIB for vibrate, and that controls the stick vibration. So we'll come to that. And what do we need to do? Right. Well, we're not going to try retyping the file live inside the transmitter. That's just asking for trouble. These files, as you can see, they've got all sorts of characters like curly brackets in the right place. You need colons and quotation marks and commas and square brackets and everything in the right place. If you type in, accidentally type in a character because your finger brushes a key, or you delete something or put it in the wrong place, your countdown timer will not work anymore. It'll just go quiet because the computers are like that. They object to a full stop being in the wrong place, and that's it. It just won't do it anymore. So the last thing we're going to do is just go ahead and retype something in the file that's in your transmitter. So first of all, we're going to make a backup of it. Okay, now how do you do backups? Well, you can use Jeti Studio. If I plug my transmitter in through the USB cable, connect USB, say yes, and my Jeti Studio, as I've ticked the box to see automatically run the transmitter wizard. If you find a transmitter, it does. Well, you can go in here and you can use the transmitter backup. And by all means, I think you should regularly, but it backs up to the internal database. I'm not sure whether that means somewhere within Jeti Studio or within the transmitter itself. Or you can save backup to a file and it will zip it. So certainly by all means go ahead and do that, and do it fairly regularly. I have a bit of a preference, probably because I've been backing up things manually for donkey's years, to doing it a slightly different way, and that is simply to copy from the place I want to back up into my own folder, especially if I'm only looking to restore one specific file, not the whole backup. So if I make a mess up of this timers v file, I just want to copy that back to the transmitter. I don't want to restore whole backups or anything. And so the way I would do that would be come in here into your little file manager, because we're connected. In this case, it's USB drive E, might be slightly different in your computer, but we're into the SD card that's in the transmitter. And so what I will do is select everything. And this requires me, I think, to have 2 hands. If I can, I'll come down here, press Shift, tap. Yep, I managed to get the lot. Control C to copy it. And I will now go to Harry's stuff, Jeti backups, and I will create a new folder. And I'll call it Jeti Backup. As you can see, I make backups from time to time this way. Where are we? 24th September 2020. There we are. So I've got my new little folder, go in there, do a Control V, and off it goes, copying everything from the transmitter's SD card into this folder on my pooter. So I'm going to pause here for a moment because you don't want to watch all this going through. And magically we've jumped forward in time, and the computer has now copied everything off the SD card in the transmitter onto my computer. And so if we go into the config folder, we come down here, there are 2 timer JSN files. I'm not quite sure where this timer v2 comes from. My transmitter seems to create it. If I delete it, it seems to recreate it at some point once you run a timer. Anyway, this is the one we want, timerv.jsn. But we are not going to try amending this one. Remember, this is your backup copy. So that if you go amending this and put it back onto the transmitter and it's faulty, you've lost your backup and everything. So just as we're not going to work live on the transmitter, we're not going to work on the backup either. But what we are going to do is highlight it, Control C to copy it, and I'm going to take it off to a different location altogether. I'll bung it in the downloads folder. You could put it on your desktop, it doesn't matter what. Control V to paste it in, and there we are. So I now have 3 copies of it. If I look at USB drive E, that's the transmitter. There's config. And there we are, there's the timer V. If I go into my Harry stuff folder, into Jeti backups, Jeti backup, into config, there it is, timer V. And if I come now to downloads or desktop, wherever you fancy putting it, some other folder, there it is, timer V. That's the one we're going to work on, because then when we load that one back onto the transmitter, if we find there's a fault in it and it doesn't work, we've got the backup copy that we've made that we can put back on the transmitter and restore us to the position we were in before. Okay, now this folder, when you open it, you need to open it in a plain text editor such as Microsoft Notepad. Do not attempt to do anything to it in a word processor like Microsoft Word, anything from OpenOffice or whatever. You can certainly open it and read it in there, but for goodness sakes, don't make any changes and save it back, because word processors put in all sorts of extra hidden characters, carriage returns and all that sort of thing that you can't see, but they're there and the computer sees them and it's not expecting them, and it just completely screws things up. So some very simple text editor like Notepad. Open it up, and there it is. Now, before we go any further, I just want to re-stress what we've just done. We've made a backup of the transmitter, and then I've taken a copy again of the file from the backup that we're going to change so that the backup is not being touched at all. If you are not totally confident at moving files around your computer and keeping track of what's where so that you don't accidentally go and change the backup file, then please don't attempt any of this. If you think you can short circuit making all these backups and I don't need to do all that, I'll just go in and type it, frankly, you're on your own and you deserve the trouble you're going to get. So I can't stress this enough. We're changing configuration files in the transmitter. We're doing it with Jeti's blessing because Jeti has put on their website how it's configured and how it should look. But if you get a screw up and it doesn't work, please don't come to me for support, because I'm showing you how to do the backup, how to do it properly. If it doesn't work for you, restore your backup. And if you haven't made a backup, it's your problem. So I know I'm laboring the point, but it does need to be said. Don't attempt this if you don't really have a clue what you're doing. Okay, now here then is my timers file, and as you can see, it counts down from 10 minutes, 9876543, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 3, 2, 1. All I did was remove the lines that I didn't want. In other words, the 50 seconds, 40 seconds, 20 seconds, 987654. I just put the cursor at the end of the line, tapped it, and then backspaced that line out. Okay? And you can put in ones you do want if you want, like 15 seconds or whatever. Now, that then deals with the actual readouts that you're getting. What about the beeps at the end? Well, here we are. Time 0, type 1, which is a beep, frequency 5000, that's fine. As you can see, I've changed it to 2, count of 2. So it will do 2 beeps. What length are they? 1500 milliseconds, that's 1.5 seconds. So I get 2 beeps of 1.5 seconds rather than just one little beep. Yeah. And then here's this extra parameter, which you will find if you have certainly the transmitters with the vibrating sticks. It says vibe for vibration, number 7. What does that mean? Well, a quick email to Jeti to say how do I change these things produced the following wonderful result. They sent me an email with the list here showing the sort of default line that they put in the file when you get the transmitter. See, beeps, 1 beep, length 1000, vibe number 7. And here's the table of what the vibes mean. Left stick, vibe number 1, 2, 3, 4. Right stick is vibes 5, 6, and 7. Vibe 7, 7. Right stick, 2 short pulses. What I want is left stick. So I can choose left stick, a long pulse, a short pulse, 2 short pulse, 3 short pulse. I'll have number 3, 2 short pulses of the left stick. So let's go back to our JSN file. And from vibe number 7, tap there. Make sure you've got the flashing cursor, because you haven't tapped properly and the cursor's somewhere else. You're about to backspace out something you really need to keep. So I'll backspace that out and type in a number 3. Okay. Now I'll say File and save it. I can close it down. Back to our file manager. Make sure you're about to copy the correct file. And it was this one that I've put in the downloads. So I'll tap on there. I'll do Control C for copy. And I will copy it back to the SD card in the transmitter. Bear in mind, I'm not going near the backup I made, because that's our get out clause. Back into config. And if I do Control V to paste, it says, do I want to replace the timer VSN? Yep. VJSN, replace the file in the destination. That's it. And that's our change written back to the transmitter. It's as simple as that. So let's go back here. Remove the cable, connecting it. Now, if you were to run the timer now, none of the changes would have taken effect, because of course it read the config file, I suspect, as it booted up, and it probably won't read it again. So we'll do a very simple shut it down. Lights have gone off. I can start it back up, and now you won't be able to feel it, but I will, and I'll tell you if I got it right. I'll be able to tell you if the left stick vibrates instead of the right stick. So we'll start the timer.
Three, two, one.
Yeah, success. So there you go. There's how to control the countdown or count up timer readouts. Just remember it's negative or positive numbers for those. And how to move the stick vibration from the right stick to the left stick, and how to actually control whether it's short or long or multiple pulses of the vibrations. But do remember, follow all those steps to make backups, then copy the file itself. Don't touch the backup, and be sure you're very careful about what you're doing, because the slightest error in the characters and you'll just have lost all your countdown readouts. It won't do the readout necessarily of everything else and just not the line that you got wrong. It probably just fall over and not do your countdown times at all. So be very, very careful.